Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody had a wonderful Monday. This is Dr. Debbie Bedoui with Evolve Global 22. Live stream Evolve with me. For those of you who don't know, I am an intuitive healing, health, and wellness practitioner and educator. And tonight, I have a big announcement to make. The EG22 Healing Light Studio is now up and running. And we are going to not only have this live stream, not only can we bring our work to the world via the internet and Zooms worldwide, but now we actually have an on-ground studio that is going to start sometime in December. Everything is still in the works. And it's called EG22 Healing Light Studio. Heal in your divine light, live in your power. So something I wanted to share with everybody tonight. So we will have not only offerings that all of our offerings can be done completely online via Zoom and or hybrid model where people in the Malvern, PA area and surrounding areas can do a hybrid between Zoom and on ground, because we are opening our own studio. So exciting things. Like I said, it's still in the works. When I have all the details, you will know. If you go to www.evolveglobal22usa.com, everything has been updated there with our offerings at this time. We will build on those. There's an explanation. Our hours are, it's by appointment only at this time. So yes, great things happening here. Now let's talk about tonight, because tonight's Monday. So if you recall, this live stream is on Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mondays are mindful moments, and we are exploring this great book, The Science of the Sacred, Bridging Global Indigenous Medicine Systems and Modern Scientific Principles. We're going to get into that in a second. Tuesdays are Healing in Real Life, small wins, small challenges, big wins, big challenges, real life stories about healing, things that get in our way, stories of success. All of that is on Tuesdays. And then Wednesdays are Threads of Trinity. Come crochet with me or bring your creative projects and we sit and chit chat. This is not a formal course. This is not, sit down and study. This is a chat, and where we talk about important topics, where we learn together, where we explore ideas and things together, all surrounding healing, health, and wellness. Thursdays are Light Talk and Spiritual Flow. We are going to talk about something. I'm going to share a personal experience this Thursday with you, something that it's been happening and evolving over the last couple of years or so, but something really significant happened, and I want to share it with all of you. And then Fridays are always a wellness drop-in. So great things. I'm so grateful and pleased that you are here with me today. Remember the live streams. What I do is, obviously, they're on my YouTube channel. Please visit there, subscribe, like, and share. any support that you give our work is very, very much appreciated, because I do a lot of work for free. I put a lot of content out for free. We don't turn anybody away. So you can also visit our website and give a gift of gratitude if you find the content and these live streams valuable to you, and support our work so that we can continue to do what we do and reach as many people as possible. Remember, in our live streams, we always start with our opening mantra. Oh, and by the way, my sound issues are fixed, I hope. I have a new microphone. You can't see it, but it's here. Friday, if you notice, if you go on my YouTube or Facebook, the Friday live stream is not in the live stream section on YouTube. I had to take it down. The sound was terrible. I don't even know what happened. I didn't even know it. I did a meditation, a live guided meditation, and then it really messed up the sound. The quality was horrible. So I took it down, re-recorded the meditation piece, because that's where it got messed up. And then I put it out as a video. So it's still there, but it's under videos. But hopefully that's all taken care of now. So let's start now with our Rise in Light mantra. So first, before we do this, let's take a deep breath in and out. Release all the stuff for today. Just push it all away. Breathe in, deep breath, and your stomach, when you breathe in, should come out, don't suck it in. So breathe in and push everything away. Number 3, breathe in and out, push it all away. And there's so many other strategies and meditations and breath work and all sorts of great things that we're going to do together. This is one that I use all the time. Now let's put our hand over our heart. And I want you to just take a moment, just silently with yourself, your inner voice. And I want you to make the intention that you're going to connect with your heart. So just breathe your regular breaths and then make your intention. I'm going to connect with my heart. I'm connecting with my heart. You're going to say that with your inner voice. Good, great. Now that we are present in the moment, we release some stuff from the day. Let's do our mantra, Rise in Light. You can repeat after me. And I'm going to do it a little bit more slowly than I did last week, because I got the feeling or the idea that I did it quickly, and perhaps my wonderful friends could not follow along exactly the way that maybe they wanted to. So I rise in truth. I breathe in healing. I walk in wholeness. I am perfectly imperfect, and I evolve through love, light, and purpose. So that is our mantra, our opening mantra. Now, tonight, Monday, mindful moments. Now, I have notes because I have to work from notes. There is just too much stuff. So let's review just a little bit about the introduction. Last week, we covered the introduction. And basically, the science of the sacred opens by explaining that indigenous healing systems from the Arctic to the Amazon to the Pacific are not alternative medicine. They are thousands of years of old knowledge systems built through observing relationship, intuition, and a deep connection to the land. Dr. Redvers, a physician of Indigenous background, explains that these systems hold incredible wisdom about the body, nature, and healing that modern science is only recently beginning to validate. One of the key ideas was Indigenous knowledge and Western science are not opponents. They're not opposing each other. They are two different ways of seeing reality. And when combined, they provide a full map of human health and the natural world. So the introduction emphasized everything is connected. I told you this book was the why about everything Evolve Global 22. Indigenous healers observed observed plants, people, cycles, and patterns for millennia. This is empirical knowledge passed down through story, ceremony, and practice. Many plant medicines and healing rituals have been backed up by new scientific research, but indigenous communities knew this long before the lab proved it. Number 3, another point, Western science is powerful but incomplete. Modern science brings tools like microscopes, MRI machines, molecular biology, epidemiology, but modern science often misses spirituality, meaning, emotional and community healing, relationships with nature, and energetic principles. The book argues that healing improves when both systems are respected. That is a huge point. Number 4 in the introduction, let me see, yes. Number 4, a key point in the introduction was colonialism disrupted indigenous medicine. Number 5, healing must be holistic. Indigenous medicine looks at the body, mind, spirit, community, land, lifestyle, purpose. This is our approach here at Evolve Global 22. Our power of 3 is aligned with this world view. So the overall message of the introduction of the science of the sacred is healing is not just physical. Healing is relational, spiritual, scientific, and energetic. To solve today's health crises, we must combine the wisdom of indigenous traditions with the tools of modern science. Now, that was basically the introduction. So and by the way, I'm working on getting a whole little packet together that has all of this with reflection questions in it. So let's get right into chapter 1. Let me find my notes. Let me see. Chapter 1. Okay. So chapter 1 is entitled The Natural Physicist. And the quote that it starts with is, reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. That's Albert Einstein said that. Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. Now let me just do a quick summary of the chapter before we actually read portions of it. So, this chapter, chapter 1, The Natural Physicist, explains that every human being long ago or long before modern hospitals and pharmaceuticals relied on nature as their first teacher, first doctor, and first medicine cabinet. Indigenous peoples lived closely with the land, so they learned healing through observation, relationship, intuition, and patterns in nature. Dr. Redvers highlights a truth often forgotten in modern life. And the people who paid close attention to it, the natural physicians, were the first scientists. Indigenous healers learned from animal behavior, plant cycles, seasons, water, weather, and wind, the stars, and the body's natural systems. They could see patterns that modern science now verifies. Inflammation, stress responses, nutrition, and plant-based pharmacology long before microscopes or lab tests existed. So this chapter emphasizes humans once lived in alignment with nature. And in that alignment, health was stronger and disease was less common. Modern life has separated us from nature. This separation has created stress, chronic illness, we hear that every day and see it, and emotional disconnection, mental health issues. The body is built to heal if we support its natural intelligence. The next point that's brought out in this chapter, Indigenous knowledge is based on watching how natural systems organize, repair, and balance themselves. This same intelligence exists innately inside of us. A true healer works with nature, not against it. So let me see today. Okay, so I'm going to start by reading an excerpt or portions of this. It's not very long, so stay with me. I am often baffled by the complexity in the world. However, on closer inspection, I realize that if we carefully dissect any living or inert thing, we arrive at the same endpoint. Take our physical bodies, for example. We have our muscles and bones, which are made up of cells, which are themselves made up of cell organs, organelles, which are made up of proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids. Lipids are fats, which are made from elements such as carbon and hydrogen, which are made up of atoms, which are themselves made up of electrons and quarks, which make protons and neutrons. These electrons and quarks are considered fundamental particles that cannot be broken down any further. If something cannot be broken down any further, then there is nothing physical about the something in the first place. This is consistent with the main theories of physics, string theory, particle physics, and quantum physics, which describe these fundamental particles as vibrations, electromagnetic fields, or simply indivisible. Therefore, if I decided to put on some special magnifying glasses that enabled me to visualize the fundamental particles that we are made of, I would see a whole lot of nothing. In fact, if I looked around myself at the tables and chairs, the dog, the plant, everything would look exactly the same. There would be no separate entities, as the air would look the same as the so-called physical objects. Ultimately, if we follow the makeup of our physical bodies, or anything for that matter, to its smallest parts, we will find that we are made up of only vibrations, electromagnetic fields, and nothing. Sounds a little new age, doesn't it? However, this is basic physics. Interestingly, in Chinese medicine philosophy, the energy permeating qi can be compared to fundamental particles in physics, as they both, in essence, link their surroundings together. Therefore, qi is the life force, the vital energy that permeates all creation. All things are said to come from qi. Qi flows and connects everything to each other. A vibration is a vibration is a vibration, and nothing is nothing is nothing. So if qi is qi, as per Chinese medicine, we can see the utilization of different terminology to describe the same fundamental state in which the universe exists. Ayurvedic medicine, one of our powers of three, one of the oldest medicine systems on the planet, states that all things in the universe, both living and non-living, are joined together, unity on a fundamental particle level. Interconnectedness between all things is the basis on which other natural laws are built. If a vibration is a vibration is a vibration, then all things are exactly the same on a relatively non-existent structural level. This means that on the energetic level, all things are joined together by the same forces. Lewis Hill describes the Aboriginal view on holism, which again emphasizes the importance and understanding of the underlying connectedness of all things. For example, interconnection. And this is what he says. Holism relates to the inherent interconnection with the earth and all the spirits of creation. The centered and quartered circle is a sign of wholeness, of inclusiveness, of all reality, of life, of balance, and harmony between man and nature. Up until now, we have had these wonderful magnifying glasses that let us see the scientific connectedness between all matter on the planet. Now, if we take off these special glasses, we witness some sort of intelligent order where all of this nothing is able to organize itself on a macro level to produce what we see through our physical eyes, the human body, flesh on bone, under skin, invigorated with life energy through our conscious and unconscious wills. Many different indigenous groups have descriptions of what physics describes as the subatomic level. The proven reality that we, as well as inert objects, are all made up of the same fundamental particles is often described by traditional cultures, religions, and philosophies as their interconnectedness. Regardless of the geographic location of a group of people on the planet and irrespective of the level of isolation they live in. The interconnectedness on an energy level is consistently understood by the majority of indigenous and ancient healing systems. The philosophical foundation of traditional knowledge in Aboriginal groups revolves around a holistic model that recognizes the intimate interconnectedness between the person, the food they eat, their environment, health, and healing. If we take the knowledge of basic physics to the point, we can clearly see that there is no real difference between a person, the food they eat, and their environment, particularly if going to the indivisible level or vibrational level of that which is essentially nothing. Great sages were said to come out of deep meditation with the realization that all we are is a thought. Dr. Paul Davies, a well-known professor of mathematical physics, estimates that the time required to achieve the level of order we now meet in the universe purely by random processes is the order of at least 10 to the 1080th power in years, much longer than the current age of the universe. In their book, Angst and Evolution, The Struggle for Human Potential, F.X. Jeswick and J.M. Gist quote the following from systems theorists, etc. Now that goes into a lot of jargon, so I'm going to skip that part, and I'm going to skip down to natural laws are stable and binding in many cultures. However, there's an understanding of the changing dynamic between forces that keep the relative stability of our earthly existence, avoiding potential catastrophes such as the sun exploding. This constant flux of balance that keeps our system stable is described in Chinese medicine as yin and yang, the philosophy of opposites and balance. According to this understanding, everything in the universe is balanced by its own polar opposite. Again, from a Western standpoint, we see this reflected in the behavior of the fundamental particles. Protons are positively charged and electrons are negatively charged. So if we have the same number of both present, the atom is in a neutral balanced state. Skip forward a little bit, and I'm gonna do a simplified summary. What did I want to hit? Many other spiritual people and cultures describe this as the spirit-soul connection. The spirit is considered the ultimate vibrational force of the universe for many cultures, calling it a form of God or creator, and the soul is your specific vibration in it. According to Paramahansa Yogananda, the purpose or definition of meditation is the science of reuniting the soul with the infinite spirit, reuniting your vibration with the ultimate vibration. As previously described in Hinduism, the word Om produces a sound and vibration which makes you feel one with the universe. And the Hindus are not the only cultural group to try and connect with this vibratory holographic reality, argued among physicists. Black Elk and Oglasu Holy Man describes the significance of the drum, which is used in almost all indigenous cultures around the world. This is why sound healing works so well. Since the drum is often the only instrument used in our sacred rites, this is, remember, the Sioux people, I should perhaps tell you here why it is especially sacred and important to us. It is because the round form of the drum represents the whole universe, and its steady, strong beat is the pulse, the heart throbbing at the center of the universe, which is vibration. It is the voice of the Great Spirit. The Great Spirit basically can be translated as God. And this sound stirs us and helps us to understand the mystery and power of all things. In higher states of meditation, reached only by those who have sat in silence for many years with proper guidance and patience, it is said that the sound of the universe will be heard. So that just talks a little bit about sound. Now, something else that's interesting that I came across the other day, side note here, that I came across the other day is the sound Om. When you, in meditation, one of the mantras you can use is Om. That sound is, if you listen to the sound of the planets you can go into NASA and you can listen to different sounds. And if you listen to the sounds of the earth, that's what it sounds like. If you listen to the sounds of different living things, that's what it sounds like. So it's really interesting when you really start making connections between things. So let's skip forward. You cannot understand true medicine power in whatever capacity that may be unless you have an understanding of the nature of things. It is why so many indigenous cultures cannot separate their bodies and health from the environment around them, including the animals, the rocks, the plants, the stars, and the winds. Every ritual, dance, prayer, and song is done to connect with this underlying fundamental energy force within the universe that can be heard, felt, and seen when the state of mind that transcends the physicality of the body. When people have a true understanding of self and the universe, they become one and the same. And through this, they achieve peace. This peace can then translate to meaning, focus, purpose, and the ability to use this short physical life as a hologram to allow others to achieve the same. So what do the physicists teach us about the world and therefore our bodies? They give us scientific words and studies to describe what previous indigenous cultures have known for generations, that we are fundamentally all the same in an interconnected energy field. Remember, the fundamental particles cannot be broken down any further. If something cannot be broken down any further, there is nothing physical about that something in the first place. That our lives may only appear to exist engendered as holographic images on a two-dimensional field that tricks our sense of physicality into a realm that brings more mystery than answers. Ask any physicist. So what does that mean for everyday life? That's what I want to know. It means we, like everything else, have and are a central core of energy that we can connect to anytime and anywhere. We all have a peaceful, safe haven within us, regardless of the endless ups and downs of life. We have a place where we can retreat to within our own bodies and minds through meditation, song, dance, drumming, and rituals. By deciding to work toward an understanding of the vibrational force, which is a universe, we all make a decision to live more than we ever have before. This is not esoteric. It is science at its purest and rawest form. Or as my wise sister said, we are not New Age, we are native. Realistically, it is hard to sit quietly in meditation with gas pains or heartburn. It is hard to dance with painful arthritis. It is hard to sing when you don't know life's song. Because of this, many cultures around the world had unique medicine systems that connected physical pursuits with specific food rituals and eating patterns that were done in concordance with the underlying pursuit of connection with the vibrational force of the universe. The mass of energy that we know as our bodies was known to be a better conduit of vibrational force if it followed specific pathways of holistic wellness. That ties right into Ayurveda medicine and aligning with your specific body dosha, which is body type. Over thousands of years, medicine systems were developed and reformatted with the underlying principle of health remaining the same. There needed to be a balance between the physical mass, the mental emotional sphere, and the spiritual plane, which is not the same as religion. The only medicine system that has not followed the same basic principles has been in existence for the shortest time is the Western biomedical system. Because of this, we often see the conventional and traditional approaches pitted against each other instead of cooperating to combine their knowledge powers. The difference between an evidence-based conventional and an evidence-informed traditional approach to medicine is an important distinction, but they do not necessarily, depending on the circumstances, need to be in opposition with each other. In addition, the traditional or evidence-informed approach is arguably becoming more evidence-based for certain treatments. Conventional medicine looks at the randomized controlled trial as the gold standard in medicine, isolating limited variables to assess response and creating guidelines on specific pathologic entities based on the response. Anything that is not evidence-based is questioned for validity, applicability, and safety. Traditional medicine is evidence-informed. That is, it utilizes generations of verbal and written data and experience to assess response and continued applicability and safety in the context of a holistic model of care. Conventional primary care medicine is based on illness and prevention, and of course, treatment of that illness. Traditional medicine is based on overall balance and supporting the body if it gets out of balance. The list of differences between the two approaches is considerable and includes how each defines the desired health outcomes to be free of disease, entity, or to be in harmony on a mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical level. With these seemingly different philosophies, we must remember that to understand the physical body, we must understand it at its fundamental level, regardless of opinion or belief. From there, we can work our way up to apply traditional and conventional understanding of health and disease while creating a balance of knowledge from both medicine worlds. So basically, we're talking about the two different systems. And my question to you is, do you see this in your day-to-day when you're dealing with the medical system and when you look at maybe different holistic approaches? Have you experienced this? Ultimately, one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself today is to engage in one of the activities that remind your body of the interconnectedness of all things. This does not necessarily require sitting for hours in the lotus meditation pose or chanting ancient scriptures by moonlight. What it does mean is to connect to your culture and roots, wherever they may be, as there is a good chance that they had rituals or songs used to connect oneself to the vibrational energy. If you don't know how to connect with your roots or are disconnected for whatever reason from your culture, area, or people, if you are not sure what your true identity is or don't feel your background holds any specific special rituals or ceremonies, they were imparted to give peace. This does not preclude you from enjoying this great benefit. There are so many resources. Right here is a resource. The studio is a resource. There's so many resources out there and ways to get what we need. So let's see. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to switch from the actual reading of the book, and I want to give you the simplified read aloud that I prepared and some important points of chapter 1. Nature was humanity's first doctor. Long before hospitals or pills, people learned how to heal by paying attention, really paying attention to the world around them. Indigenous communities watched how animals healed themselves, how plants grew, how seasons changed, and how the human body responded to its environment. They noticed patterns, they noticed energy, they noticed imbalance, and they learned how to bring the body back into harmony. The real physician has always been nature itself. The people who understood nature were the natural physicians. But something happened over time. We moved indoors, we disconnected from the land, we started living in ways that don't match how our bodies were designed to thrive. And because of that, many of us experience stress, exhaustion, inflammation, and chronic illness. Not because the body's broken, but because the body is out of rhythm with nature. This chapter also teaches us that the human body has a built-in intelligence, the ability to heal, repair, restore, and rebalance. Indigenous medicine knew this. Science is finally catching up, I would say at a snail's pace a little bit. So the message of chapter 1 is this: to heal deeply, we must reconnect with nature, with our bodies, with our own instincts. We must remember that healing is not outside us. Healing is built inside us, into us. And every time we breathe, slow down, touch the earth, eat real food, rest, or connect with spirit, we return to the natural physician within. Now, my question to you is, when was the last time that you spent quiet time in nature? When was the last time? Now, I don't mean that you have to necessarily, travel an hour to get to the forest or whatever. I mean, sometimes just make it simple. Find a tree, driving on your way someplace, taking a walk, go out and look at well, in the springtime, it would be a garden, but, go out in the wintertime, it's snow, grass, anything that's from the natural world. And then when you do that, how does your body feel when you connect with the natural world? Now I'm going to hold off on that thought. So let's talk about listening to the body. Do you trust your body's ability to heal? And I want you to think about it and reflect upon it. Journal about it tonight. Do you trust your body's ability to heal? Why or why not? What signals does your body give you when something is off balance? Most people today don't even know they're out of balance. Question: do you feel most energized in the morning, the afternoon, or the night? Do you feel calmer indoors or outdoors? Have you ever used plants, herbs, or teas for healing? Yes, no, and what have you used? The reason that we do these micro-learning sessions on Monday nights, as I told you in the last Monday, is knowledge is power. I can sit here and tell you all of my thoughts, all of my opinions, all of what I think and what I do. And if you don't believe it, if you don't see it, then you can't benefit, right? I mean, we can't just accept something at face value, but this has been studied. This is an excellent book. If you are starting your own library, you need to get this book. I started reading this online, and I actually ordered the book because I wanted to put it in my library. But at Evolve Global 22, what I have been, standing on the mountaintop and preaching for I don't know how long. And in our Healing Light studio, we use the power of 3. And the reason that I created the power of 3, it was first based on my own experience and my own journey. When I realized that we have to deal with the body, the mind, the soul, and the spirit. If you negate any of those, it's impossible to be in balance. It's impossible to be healed and well. You can do little things here and there to make yourself feel better for a little bit, but you're still heading for illness. And we can see that. We can see in our own lives or the lives of our loved ones or just humanity as a whole, how much chronic illness is out there. The list just keeps getting longer and longer and longer and longer. Chronic illness should not even really exist. Most of them. All of the gut issues. All of the inflammatory diseases. All of the immune diseases. They should be minimal. It shouldn't be the norm. It should be something that is a small segment of humanity. We have to ask the question, why? Why is that? Why is it? And why, and get this, I just had a thought. How many of us have heard or said ourselves, I know I have at some point in my life, we'll say, oh, you get older, you're going to get sick. Arthritis is a normal thing as you age. It's going to happen. Well, in some societies, long ago with indigenous peoples, it was almost non-existent. Now, I'm not saying they didn't have illness and disease at all. Obviously, there's illness and disease, but to the extent of what we see it today, and look at children. And if you are in certain circles and you attempt to have a conversation with a mom about, let's say, sugar and cupcakes and, eliminate wheat from their diet. That's a big step. I'm like, oh, they'll never be able to have a piece of, they won't, they're going to be so sad. It's creating inflammation in your child's body. For example, I'm just giving you an example. I'm not saying that, everybody has to be wheat and grain free and all this. I'm just saying, as an example, if you say to somebody, like cut down on the bread, the macaroni, but I love bread. I can't go without bread. Well, when your knees hurt and it's staring us right in the face. Indigenous peoples knew this. They knew that we are complex beings, that we're energy within within our bodies. We are energy beings in a body, that our food, the way we live, our lifestyles, all of that's connected. Our connectedness with ourselves, with our creator, with each other, with the universe, all of that mattered. Why is it that in modern life we're supposed to be the most sophisticated? Why is it that most of us don't realize this at the level that we need to realize it? And or we realize and say, yeah, but we do the exact opposite. Think about that. When I was 300 pounds, I was already sick, probably, but I knew it was going to manifest, and I was literally going to be very sick. I knew that. I could feel it. That's why I did something about it. Now, am I I'm such a strong, great person? No. I made a decision. I lost 100 pounds on my own. I mean, not complete. I mean, I had a coach. I learned a lot of things. I had teachers. I'm just saying, like, without doing any massive medical intervention, I didn't take any pills. I didn't do anything. I just followed what my teachers were told me. They told me, trust the process. I trusted the process, and I just did the work. That's what I mean. And I did. I lost 100 or a little bit over 100 pounds. And then I kind of got stuck. Then life got in the way. I couldn't keep the regimen of the gym twice a day and all the stuff that I was doing. I just couldn't do it. I was getting tired. And then I made the decision to take a drastic approach. And the drastic approach was I decided to have gastric sleeve surgery. And that's when I learned afterwards that I was a food addict, because it irritated me for a while, just that I couldn't eat things like I did before. Not at all. I couldn't eat them at all. And it irritated me. I'm like, why am I so irritated? A cookie is no big deal. Why am I so irritated? Well, so then I had to deal with that. But I took a drastic approach because I wasn't, after I did the work, changed my lifestyle, changed how I ate, changed how I looked at food, then I took the more drastic approach to finish everything off, because I was getting tired. It was going up and down and up and down. Not drastically, but I couldn't get to where I knew my weight was supposed to be. And I took that approach because I wanted to make sure that I did everything that I could possibly do within my hands and within my power to be able to be healed, healthy, and well. Now, that led to a whole host of other things that I worked through, growth and development, a journey, and where I am now, spiritually, emotionally, all of that. But nevertheless, it took a drastic, I made the first decision, took the first step, did the work, made a drastic decision, did the work. Because I'm so great, I'm so strong, I'm all that? No, not at all. Not at all. But I just made the decision. That's it. Now, when you talk about things being aligned or balanced, or being in tune with nature and animals and the cycles of nature and life and the whole universe, think of this. I think of this so often. I think of mental health. That's another thing that in modern life, mental health issues are just skyrocketing. Anxiety, depression, suicide rates, all these issues with mental health and emotional well-being. And I believe that it's directly related to how we eat and how we live. There's no way around it. With everything that I've learned, that I know, that there's just no way around it. That's what it is. Well, Think about this. Now, I'm not vegetarian. I eat meat, I eat chicken, I eat fish. So I'm not suggesting anybody be vegetarian or you have to be this or that. But think about this. In the West, our whole meat production system and slaughterhouses and all of that, animals are traumatized, basically, because they want that, you know, the whole, it's a huge system. Hundreds of thousands of animals slaughtered, chickens, cows, sheep, lamb, whatever. And if you go and research the slaughterhouses and all this stuff, basically the animals are traumatized. Now, in my religion, we have a certain way you're supposed to slaughter an animal. You're not even supposed to show them the knife that you slaughter them with. And you're supposed to do it very carefully, with great mercy. And there's a prayer that you say. And you're not supposed to show them. You're not supposed to show them the knife. You're not supposed to treat them illy. You're supposed to be comforting to them. So if we are traumatizing animals before they are slaughtered to eat, and then we take that meat and we put that in our bodies, what do you think that's going to do to our bodies? That's energy, and that's energy. What's that going to do to us? This is one example. This is not everything. Like, this is not the only thing. I made this connection quite some time ago. So, animals that are raised grass-fed and range animals and all of that, and that are slaughtered in a humane way, and not traumatized before they're slaughtered. That's important. That was put into place in many religions or many philosophies long ago, thousands and thousands of years ago. Why is it that in modern society, we don't get it? It's something to think about. All I'm saying is think about it. All this is about is just thinking about it. Those kinds of things that we may not think of every day. So we wonder why we have so many mental health issues. Well, this is an example, a true living example, another example of something I want to share. I was working with a client, and when you work with me, the first thing that we do, if you're in a full plan, the first thing that we do is we do an Ayurvedic body assessment so that we know your dominant body type or dosha, and we can start aligning what you're eating, your lifestyle, your habits, and strategies that you use to support your body, mind, soul, and spirit to your dominant body type. So we did that. We were talking about all of the different things and all of my suggestions, and she had the plan in hand. And at one point, she was having some trouble with the plan. She was kind of stuck in an area. And I asked her, how did you feel when you ate such and such? Because the first thing I asked her when she said she was having trouble and struggling, I said, tell me what you ate. Tell me what you ingested. And she told me, and I said, okay, how did you feel when you ate this thing, whatever it was? It could have been an apple, could have been whatever. And she looked at me kind of puzzled. And she says, what do you mean? How did I feel? I said, well, how did you feel? How did you feel emotionally? How did you feel physically? How did you feel at that moment when you ate it, that thing? She looked at me and she says, I don't know. I don't know how I don't know. And I said, well, first, there's part of the challenge, part of the problem. When you eat, sit and eat each item on your plate that you're eating, and be in the moment and present while you're eating it. So you taste it, you chew it, and you experience whatever it is you're going to experience as a result of that piece of food going into your mouth and you eating it. And I said, you can't be racing around and just stuffing stuff in your mouth. So I said, for the next 2 weeks, I want you to keep a journal of what you eat at dinner and how you felt when you ate it. And she did it. And she came back to me and she said, I can't believe it's everything's different now. She said, I didn't even realize how certain things made me feel. And she talked about one item that she ate, and she says, and I was so irritable after I ate it. It's not that I was sick. I didn't have pain. I didn't have gut issues after. I wasn't sick to my stomach. I was irritated. Like 20 minutes after I ate it, I was just irritated for no reason. So these are the kinds of things that when we start working on ourselves and we approach it in a holistic, comprehensive, complete way to address our complex, complete selves that surface that we don't even realize. I didn't realize a lot of things when I first started. I didn't realize a lot of things. I didn't realize that I didn't chew my food well enough. I didn't realize, some of the things I was eating was going to cause me problems because it was feeding. It was too much. My body type it's called pitta. It's fire. It's the dominant is fire. And so I was adding fire to fire. Well, if you add fire to fire, you get more fire. That's not a good thing. Increased inflammation, those kinds of things. The way we live, the way we eat, what we do. So this book, back to our Monday night, this book, and I gave you a few personal examples of my own, but this book is what Evolve Global 22 and the Power of 3. This is the why behind it. Tonight, we basically covered chapter 1. My friends, I am working diligently to try to get this packet together to go along with this. I wanted to start this because I thought it was so important. Next week, chapter 2 is the natural geneticist. So that's going to be interesting. That one gets a little bit more technical, but like I did tonight, I'm going to read excerpts and then I'm going to have a simplified summary just because I want this to be like a conversation. I'm sure you can all handle just the straight reading of it, but I do the simplified read aloud version and the summary because it's just so much easier to get through, and it's like having a conversation, not like you're sitting in a class trying to understand all this terminology and back and forth. So I hope it is now. What time is it? It is now 8:55. I am going to do our closing mantra. I hope that you found tonight beneficial to you. I wish you all the most peace, light, and love ever for to go through this week. Remember, Evolve Global 22 has the Healing Light Studio now. We are worldwide via the internet, Zoom. I can do all of my work via Zoom. I've been doing it for quite some time now. And now I have a studio that's on ground, and we can do a hybrid version or an all on ground version if you're in the Melbourne, PA area and surrounding areas. For those of you in this area of Pennsylvania, that's the main line area. Go to my website, www.evolveglobal22usa.com. Yeah. Hello, everybody. It is Monday, and I'm back. Evolve Global 22, Evolve into Wholeness. This is Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. We come on live every weeknight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The message is live in your power, heal in your divine light, live in your power. And we have a theme for every night. It is a place that is sacred. This is a place that is safe, where we learn from each other and we grow and evolve together. We heal in our community of light. And just to remind you, Mondays are Mindful Moments Micro Learning. We are exploring the book, The Science of the Sacred, Bridging Global Indigenous Medicine Systems and Modern Scientific Principles. And we are going to get into that in a moment. Tuesdays are Healing in Real Life. We talk about challenges. We talk about successes. We talk about big wins, big losses, small losses. We talk about whatever it comes up and is in the moment for any of us, myself or you. Sometimes I talk about my own personal experiences. Sometimes I talk about clients that I've worked with and things that they've dealt with. And then I'm hoping one day, hello, Steph, how are you? Thank you for joining tonight. As all of you can see, I have my chat overlay here so I can actually see the chats while I'm talking. I hope I don't miss anyone. But as I was saying, Tuesday nights are Healing in Real Life. Wednesday are Threads of Trinity. We crochet and knit together. Or if you don't crochet and knit, you could start. Or if you have another creative talent that you do, you can come and do it with us here. Creativity is healing. And then Thursday is Light Talk and Spirit Flow. We talk about spirituality. It is not about a specific religion, although religion can come into it. I talk a lot about the 3 Abrahamic religions. I talk a lot about other philosophies that I have kind of dabbled in a little bit. And then Friday is Wellness Drop-In, and we launch into the weekend with intention and purpose. Before I forget, let me just make sure that I tell you, this week in the US, it is Thanksgiving. So this week, Thursday, we will not be live. So Thursday night, we're taking off, but we will be here on Friday. So just be reminded, Thursday is a holiday here in the USA. So we will not be live this Thursday. Now, I have put in the chat, I encourage every single one of you to visit our website, www.evolveglobal22usa.com. I also encourage you to visit my Facebook page, Circle of Light. The link is in the chat for you. I just realized tonight that on the page, I can't live stream to it yet because there's not enough followers there. I started that not too long ago as a branch off of my profile on Facebook. So that's what that's about. Now, this week, tonight, this is about tonight is micro learning, and we're going to talk about our book, The Science of the Sacred. Now we're going to do a review, just a short little review of the introduction and chapter 1, but chapter 2 is tonight, and it's called The Natural Geneticist. And the quote that it starts with, I love quotes. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. And that was attributed to Charles Darwin. So keep that quote in mind, but let's just kind of review, and let me get my notes because, I can't remember all this stuff off the top of my head. So let's just talk a minute. And I am working on Mindful Moments book companion series. I'm going to do one of these for every book or document or whatever we explore on Monday nights. In the future, they'll be prepared when we start. I'm preparing this kind of as I go, and I'm going to put it up later for anybody who wants it. But anyways, let's talk about the introduction. Okay, so in the introduction, and I'm going to just talk about some important key points, highlights, just to remind us. So some ideas that were emphasized in the introduction was everything is connected. Indigenous medicine sees the human being as part of a larger web. Nature, animals, seasons, land, spirit, community, all influence our health. Modern science traditionally looks at parts in isolation. So this book aims to bring those two views together. Number two, that's an emphasis is indigenous science is real science. Indigenous healers observe plants, people, cycles, patterns, etc. for millennia. This is empirical knowledge passed down through story, ceremony, practice. Many plant medicines and healing rituals have been backed up by new scientific research, but indigenous communities knew this long before the labs ever proved it. 3, another important point, Western science is powerful, but incomplete. We have all the tools, the MRI machines, microscopes, all that stuff, but science misses spirituality, meaning, emotional and community healing, relationship with nature, and energetic principles. This book argues that healing improves when both systems are respected. And number 4, a big point was in the introduction, colonialism disrupted indigenous medicine. And then 5, healing must be holistic. A person cannot be healed by focusing on only one piece. Indigenous medicine looks at the body, the mind, the spirit, the soul, the community, land, lifestyle, purpose. This is the approach that we use at Evolve Global 22 and what all of our work embodies. The power of 3 is aligned with this worldview. And I'm going to, later on, I think tonight, I want to just give you a brief example of what it looks like when I actually have a client come to me. So let's look at, so that's the introduction. Let's see. So some learning points from the introduction. Healing is a whole system journey, not a single technique. The body has an ancient intelligence. We must learn how to listen again. Reconnection is medicine. Disconnection is disease. Ancient wisdom plus modern science is the future of healing. That's a big one. Ancient wisdom and modern science equals the future of healing. Another big one, and I've been saying this in many ways for quite some time, you are the healer of your life, not the system, not the world, not the circumstances. Now, so that kind of just gives you a reminder of the summation of the introduction. Now let's do the same thing for chapter 1, just to remind us. Chapter 1 is entitled The Natural Physicist. Now, in chapter 1, some of the points that were emphasized were Indigenous peoples understood natural forces deeply. They studied movement, balance, flow, energy, and cycles, the core pillars of physics. Now, my question that just popped into my head is, if that is the case and it's the core pillars of physics, then why do we as human beings have such an issue sometimes with energy and energy healing and the flow of energy within the human body? That's a question for thought. Number two, that was emphasized in chapter 1, nature's patterns mirror the human body. Blockages, stagnation, flow, heat, cold, pressure, they all exist inside us and outside us. Next, balance is the foundation of health. Balance in nature, balance in body. Imagine for a second if we didn't have balance in nature, for example, or think of places or issues that we're facing now in modern times, environmental issues where things are not in balance, and what is happening. So there's something to that. Keep that in mind. The next thing, healing requires realignment with nature. When we restore relationship with land, breath, rhythm, and cycles, we heal. So the overall message of chapter 1 was nature operates through laws of flow, balance, and relationship. Humans are part of these laws, not separate from them. So illness arises when we fall out of alignment with these natural forces. Healing happens when we return to rhythm, balance, flow, intuition, seasonality, natural cycles, and the energy of land. The natural world is the blueprint for human healing. And then let's just quickly talk about some learning points that I either brought up or I would like to emphasize to make them clear. Natural forces shape your health. Energy medicine works with flow, stagnation, grounding, alignment. The same physics indigenous peoples observed. People learned that symptoms are not random. They're signals of imbalance or blocked energy. Next, rhythm and routine restore body balance. Why does this matter? Because we are striving to stabilize our mood, digestion, and energy, and that is done through energy and balancing it and clearing out stagnant energy and the simple rhythms of energy. And then 3, disconnection is the root of many chronic issues. I don't even think I have to say anything about why that's important, because look at the chronic illnesses that we're dealing with today. It's incredible the number of chronic illnesses and disease that there are no answers or solutions for that exist, and how many people are actually suffering. Next, nature is a living teacher and medicine. Healing is returning to flow. So that was chapter 1. Now, let's talk about chapter 2 for tonight. We did a quick review. Let's talk about chapter 2. Now, remember that quote, which we started with, which begins chapter 2. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. And that's attributed to Charles Darwin. Now, I'm going to read one small excerpt, which is the very last paragraph of the chapter, and then I'm going to do a simplified version, and because I think it will, this chapter tends to be a little bit sciencey. So I want to give you a perspective before we do the simplified version. So let's just take a listen for a minute. We humans have 23 paired chromosomes, 46 chromosomes per cell in our bodies. It is estimated that we have 37.2 trillion cells in our bodies. This means a heck of a lot of total paired chromosome repeats in our bodies that control everything from our hair color to how we process vitamin D, to how well we break down a pesticide that was sprayed on the apples we eat. If you can understand more about your susceptibilities to everyday life, not necessarily to disease per se, although that is possible to a certain extent, through either modern functional genetic assessments or through traditional constitutional typing, it will help guide you through this world in a way that will support your genetic expression, prompting happy and healthy epigenetic changes. We're going to talk a little bit about that, so don't worry. From the type of food you eat to the relaxation you achieve to the extra support you might utilize, having a basic understanding of your constitution and accepting it both mentally and physically will enable the next steps in health and well-being to be catered more specifically to you. Remember, your genes are not your destiny, but they are your tendency. And you therefore have the power to work with this tendency only as far as you have the knowledge and the awareness to proceed. And one of my goals is to promote and increase that knowledge. Remember when I started the live stream 2-3 weeks ago, I said knowledge is power, and that's why Monday nights we do this. But now let me read you a simplified version of chapter 2, and this is very short. The simplified versions, I only do a couple paragraphs, and then we'll go into a summary, and then we'll talk about it. This chapter reminds us that Indigenous peoples understood genetic patterns and inheritance long before Western science named DNA. They watched how traits traveled through families. They noticed how certain illness repeated. They saw how trauma and stress could echo across generations. And they also saw how strength, resilience, intuition, and gifts were inherited too. Most importantly, they understood that genes are not fixed. Environment, ceremony, land, connection, diet, community, healing, and spirituality can all influence how a trait expresses itself. Today, modern science calls this epigenetics. Indigenous wisdom simply lived it. The heart of this chapter is that you inherit more than biology. You inherit stories, patterns, strengths, wounds, wisdom, and memory. And your healing today can reshape what is passed forward tomorrow. Your lineage shapes you, but you also shape your lineage. Now, the summary of Chapter 2, The Natural Geneticist. Chapter 2 explains how Indigenous peoples understand genetics, as I said, long before DNA science existed. Through generations of observation, land connection stories, experience, which was lived, Indigenous communities recognize the following: inherited traits, repeated patterns, ancestral strengths, ancestral wounds, intergenerational trauma, intergenerational resilience, environmental influence on health. They understood that a person's biology is shaped by lineage, land, lifestyle, emotion, and spirituality. Now, just a thought, again, that just popped into my head after reading that one line. They understood that a person's biology is shaped by lineage, land, lifestyle, emotion, and spirituality. The first thing that popped into my mind was mental illness and the mental health crisis that we have going on, particularly to the West, but it's really worldwide. But the West, it's really, really predominant. Think about that. Indigenous healers practice what modern science now calls epigenetics, the idea that environment and experience turn genes on and off, influencing what gets passed down. The chapter shows that genetics is not fixed. It is influenced by how we live, heal, and relate to the world. Now, let's just pause for a moment from my notes and let's think about that. So we have all these, let's put it into some real world context. So we have all of these chronic diseases, for example. Now, the past belief, or I don't know how many years ago, early in medicine, I guess, but not too long ago, and still, it still exists and it's still there. It was always bad genes. Oh, you got bad genes. You were unlucky. It was passed down through the genes. And they said this for the longest time about all sorts of different illnesses, heart disease, diabetes, many of the common chronic illnesses that we see, cancer today. This was the predominant theme. Well, it's not correct. It's not accurate. Genes do not determine your future. Yes, you can be predispositioned for certain things. Yes, that's accurate. However, how many people should that be? And how many diseases should that be? I mean, the health crisis and chronic illness in particular that we see, and cancer and all the things that we see that are common now. How can it be that many people just have bad genes? It can't be. In my mind, it can't be. What do you think, Steph? Did I catch you off guard? That's okay. But it can't be. It can't be that everybody has bad genes, or that a majority of the people have bad genes. So you think about it within the context of common chronic illnesses, cancer. Then you go to the mental health side of things, and same idea. Oh, thank you, Steph. Thank you. The same idea, mental health. Yes, there are some mental health issues that, perhaps can run in families, or et cetera, whatever. I don't know if you say it's genes or whatever it is, but not to the extent that we see it. Not to the extent that we see it. It can't be that many people are struggling with their mental health, and it's passed down from generation to generation by genes or bad genes. So it goes across not only mental health, the common chronic illnesses, etc. Steph says your environment, what you eat, etc., affects your health, mental, physical, DNA. Yes, you're absolutely correct, Steph. Thank you for bringing that out. Absolutely. I was reading something the other day, and I can't go into detail on this because I don't have it in front of me. But based upon stress, the environment, stress, toxins, what we eat is a big, huge one, and what's in our food, and actually what we eat. It can actually change. It actually changes your cells. And I believe that was in regards to something I was reading about cancer, that somebody was speaking about cancer. But just think about that. Like it's excuse me. If we know this, which many of us may not realize this, because also in our modern day life of we just want quick results, we just want to be entertained all the time, we just want quick sound bites of information. We really, and then we're not being told by people in various fields, in medicine and science and wherever. We're not being told as much, like the common person, they just don't go around and they find opportunities or people in these fields to tell them the truth about some things. Unless they have a problem and they're seeking out something, they probably have never heard of some of this. So it's really it's really important that we educate ourselves and we build an understanding, because some of the things all of the things actually that we talk on here, I never knew any of this back in the day. Nobody ever told me. No doctor ever told me any of this. No, in school I never learned any of this. Even when I was in because I took all the coursework to be an LPN, a licensed practical nurse, and even in nothing was ever said, and that wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was in the history of the world. That was what, maybe 30 years ago. So nobody ever. This was some of the things that we talk about here. I never heard of it. That's why I'm bringing it up. That's why I do what I do. But so chapter 2. Let's get back to chapter 2. So the overall message in chapter 2 is your lineage influences you, but it does not confine you. You carry memory, strength, wisdom, and possibility. Your healing choices today. Listen to this. Your healing choices today can rewrite patterns, interrupt trauma, strengthen resilience, influence future generations, honor the ancestors who couldn't heal. You are not the product of your lineage. You are also the healer of it. So I have some questions. Okay, Steph, hold on. I want to see this. A doctor once told me that they prescribe pills because people don't listen when they tell them what to do naturally. You know, pills are easier. Yeah, no, I believe that. I believe that. One example of that is, do you remember back in the day, Steph, when basically you go to the doctor, if you took your kids to the doctor or you went to the doctor, you got antibiotics very easy for everything. Like, I remember that with my own kids and with myself when I was younger. And now they don't, because it's not good to take antibiotics like that, because then they won't work when you actually really need them. But at that time, I remember standing in doctor's offices with my kids and parents wanting antibiotics for their kids because they knew that was the answer. And they were madder than fire because the doctor would not, after doctors figured this out, they wouldn't prescribe them that way anymore. And parents were mad, so mad. And they would argue and they would fuss and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I want to say something, Stephanie, about that pills are easier. That's something that is really, really important for all of us to recognize and think about. Yeah, you know why it's easier? Because if you have a symptom, you take a pill, the symptom almost immediately goes away. Not in everything, but generally, the symptom goes away. But the question is, is the problem solved? And the definitive answer to that is no. But the problem with us as human beings is we want the answer yesterday. And when we're ill, or when we don't feel well, or when we have a pain, or whatever it is, we want it gone yesterday. And we're oftentimes not willing to go through the process to figure out really what the problem is. And I tell you, when I get a new client, and we start working together, I tell them it's a bandage. You're right. It's just a Band-Aid. When I get a new client, I tell them, listen, when we start, after we do the assessments, after we do everything we do, and I get all the information and we devise a plan collaboratively, then what happens is I say, listen, it's going to get worse before it gets better. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Because, for example, I'll give an example. If you have been eating terribly for 20 years, your body's toxic, not only from the toxins that it gets in the environment and everything that we have to be around or that we consume that's in our food, but then we actually put toxins in our body because we think that we can't go without the Doritos, this food, the bread, the whatever it is, whatever food that it is. So we stuff ourselves with all of that toxicity, and then your body becomes toxic. Then you start getting rashes and you're sick and you have inflammation and you have aches and pains and you're sick off and on all the time, whatever's going on. When you start to clear out, when you are doing something about it, so I'm working with somebody and yes, addiction stuff. When we're working on issues and we have a plan in place and we're going through, the body will detox itself, just like with addiction to a drug. It'll detox itself as long as you continue the process and you don't keep feeding that, right? As it detoxes, what happens? The rashes get worse because the toxins are coming out into your skin, to the surface of your skin. So the rash is going to get worse before it gets better. The inflammation is going to start healing itself, which means it's going to get more inflamed likely before it starts actually healing, because again, the toxins are there, they're clearing out. So that's why when you start anything like this, if you've ever done a detox or if you've ever done anything regarding changing drastically your eating or anything that you do, for about a week, sometimes 3 days, sometimes 3-4 days, week, usually it doesn't go much beyond 2 weeks, you're just miserable. Not only physically, but then you talk about mentally. You're tired, you're run down, you can't move, you have no energy, so it's not only physical, it's also mental, then it's emotional. Because now you got all these things going on and you're like, oh my God, I don't feel, this is terrible. So then it goes into emotional. So it affects and impacts everything, every component of us. So I always share with my clients, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But back to the whole idea of the pill, of taking a pill is easier. That's part of the reason why, because people won't, or as human beings, we don't want to be uncomfortable. That's the bottom line. We don't want to be uncomfortable. Why, if you have a drug addiction, if somebody has a drug addiction, why is it that most people go back and take the drug? They can't make it through the detox, especially on their own. It's really, 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 really uncomfortable. So, that's something to think about. And until we can get ourselves beyond that kind of mindset, then we can't really truly heal. And this, not only, it's easier to understand it when you're talking about food, but then when you go into your emotional and mental health and you're talking about the things that are inside that are toxic to you, but you don't even really realize it because they're not tangible things. It could be past trauma, could be a lot of things. So working through that, it's the same idea, it's just a different aspect of yourself. So I want to ask, I want to give us, let me get back to our book. I want to ask us to consider some reflection questions. So the first one is surrounding family patterns. What patterns have you seen repeat across your family line? I can tell you in mine, um, addictive behaviors. I would say obesity. Those are the two big ones. So when you look back, when you see pattern, when you look back at your family across your family line, and you see repeated patterns, that's something that when we want to heal, need to be aware of. Inherited strength. What's one gift you know you inherited from your lineage? And I would say mine would be perseverance, just being strong-willed. Then under epigenetic awareness, do you believe your healing decisions can influence the next generation? Why or why not? That's a good one to think about, especially if you have children. For emotional lineage, is there an emotional or behavioral pattern you feel called to break? I can tell you one: guilt. Being made, we do this to parents, and I've been guilty of this myself and didn't even realize it. Just making your children come back into line and behave or whatever using guilt. Think about that. Let me see. Identity. What part of your ancestry do you want to reconnect with or honor more deeply? This one in the West is, I think this is a really important question to consider, because we've sort of gotten away from, like ancestral pattern rituals and things that used to be. One that sticks out in my mind: Sunday dinners. Back in my grandmother's time, Sunday dinners were like every family, no matter what was going on in life, they always had Sunday dinners at mom's house or grandmom's house, wherever they were in the formation of their family, right? Well, that went away. That's just a simple, tangible kind of one that I can think of off the top of my head. But I think I know people that don't even really know their ancestry. Steph, thank you. I thought they were great reflection questions. I actually have them in a document that I'm creating for this. I can't place them in the thread here, but what I'll do is I will place them in the comment of the live stream video when it goes up, because it automatically goes up to YouTube, to my YouTube channel. And then I have to just put a title in the description. So I'll put it I'm going to start putting, start putting some of these things, especially the reflection questions, in the descriptions in the YouTube. Would that help you? Would that help you? And that's a good insight for the future. I might have it prepared for the future to be able to put the reflection questions in the chat. I didn't think about it. So thank you. That's a great suggestion for the future. And I will also have them, like I said, it usually takes me probably tomorrow to get it done. So just give it a day and then they should be there. So let's talk about just the learning points, because I always like to bring out the learning points of the chapter that we're working on, and why, and kind of why it matters. So healing yourself heals your lineage. And this matters because people realize that they are not just healing themselves, they are healing generations before and after them. Number two, a learning point when I went through this that popped into my head: daily living influences gene expression. And that's important because in order to understand that simple daily choices can shift inherited patterns. This one, oh my God, if I had to drive something home. Simple daily choices can shift inherited patterns. Number three, the learning point number three, trauma can be interrupted through regulation. People learn that trauma is not their identity. They can learn that. It is a pattern that can be changed. Number four, inherited strength is real and accessible. If people stop focusing, this is why this matters. If people stop focusing on what's wrong and begin seeing what's powerful within them, if people stop focusing on what's wrong, they can begin seeing what's powerful within them. Number five, you are the co-creator of your future health. People, when they get to a certain mindset and understanding, people are able to step into full ownership of their healing journey instead of waiting for someone else to fix them. I want to say something to this because when I started my healing journey, of course, I got coaches and all of this, and I used to go to the doctor, and I was at the doctor for, whatever things. I hardly ever go to the doctor. I don't remember the last time I went to the doctor. I don't think I've actually been to the doctor for any kind of illness. I'm going to say more than 5 years, but it could even be a decade. Like it could be since the beginning of my journey. The last time that I really had anything significantly done with a doctor is when I made the decision to, after I lost 100 pounds, over 100 pounds, when I was 300 pounds, I lost 100 or a little over 100 pounds myself. It was intense. And I got to the point where I just couldn't get the last portion off. My weight would fluctuate. And I decided to be drastic. And I went and had the gastric bypass, the gastric sleeve surgery. And I think that's the last major interaction I had with a doctor for some kind of illness. Now, I'm not talking about if you went and you were checked because you were in a car accident or there was an injury. I haven't had a major injury, but I had a little bump in a car accident. So I saw the doctor for that just to make sure everything, what was going on. But for illness, I haven't been, and I can't even remember when. Now, does that mean I'm against doctors? Absolutely not. We need that physicians, but I'm saying physicians and myself and other people who do this work need to work together. And physicians need to open their minds to this realm a little bit more, a little bit better, a little bit more easily. So what is the video? Is the internet lagging, Steph? Is it still lagging? I apologize if there's any lag. There's nothing I can do about it. I don't know why tonight there would be a lag. Or are you talking about the chat? Anyways, if you heard that question, just pop it in there. I'll see it. But yeah, so, when you talk about taking full ownership of your healing journey instead of waiting for somebody else to fix it, that's what happens. I do so many things in a day. Let me tell you, first of all, every morning I have certain practices that I do every single day. They include reading scripture from my holy book. You can read scripture from your holy book. It includes prayer. It includes I eat certain things in the morning, or I don't eat certain things in the morning. I eat certain foods just as a part of my diet regularly, and some things I don't eat at all. I've aligned my diet and what I eat with my body constitution. Remember that word in this chapter? My body constitution, my body type, my dominant body type. So I align everything with my body constitution as much as I possibly can. That also goes for lifestyle. Any kind of stress. Now, I'm not saying I never get stressed out, but I have learned to step back. And when something is continuously stressing me, I change it or I withdraw. I don't allow it in my life, in my existence. For example, I have certain routines and exercises that I do for energy flow. I do clearings on myself. I do energy healing on myself. I do, like, there's just so many things that I do on a daily basis just to support my body's healing currently, and to support it on a day to day. Now, let's say, for example, I start feeling a little unwell, or I'm starting to get a cold or flu or whatever. I have certain plant-based products, essential oils, and other kind of supplement things that I use. Some I don't use every day. So depending on what my symptoms are and what I'm experiencing when I feel like I'm not too well, then I add the extra in. For example, one example is oregano. Oregano acts as an antibiotic. Don't wear oregano every day. Oregano is very strong. Do not use oregano every day. It's not a good practice. But I use it only when I feel like I'm coming down with something. That's an easy example. I have certain tea blends from Evolve Global 22 are my favorites. The Inflamease is a tea blend that I put together, that I designed, and that I use on a daily basis. So I drink it like water. I start it out hot. I keep the tea bag all in the cup all day, and I just keep refilling it. Sometimes I'll even, if I want something colder to drink, if it's not hot, then I'll put ice in it and I'll drink it cold. So that's one that fights inflammation. And then the other one is Immune U, which is good for supporting the immunity in the body. I use that one. So some days I'll use the Immune U, some days I'll use the Inflamease, but the Inflamease I use more often. So there's that I use to be able to support my body in sustaining or fighting off or warding off any kind of illness. But that was, after, I mean, that's been a process. I didn't know all of this when I first started, and I didn't use all of the things that I use now. All of the rituals, I connect every day with Source, the creator of all that is, God. I connect every day with the energies of the universe. I connect every day with people that I'm surrounded by, so humanity. And I connect every day with myself. And I just thought of something. I was thinking about this chapter so much. I always start the live stream. I didn't start the live stream today with the ritual that we have been, but we're going to end it with it. Okay. So it's not to say that you never forget or you never miss one of your practices. Missing one once in a while is not a big deal once you're consistent. But if you totally put them to the wayside, then it's a problem, because then your defense system is broken down. Another thing I use sound therapy. So I'll use certain frequencies, music, certain types of music, certain types of sound. If you've never had a sound bath, it's amazing, beautiful. That's one. That's another thing. Color, using color in healing. That's another piece and component. Crocheting and knitting for me is therapy. It takes everything and kind of like just wraps it up, the color, the texture, the actual doing something with your hands. So there's a lot of things that I do in my life that supports my overall healing. Now, what happens when somebody comes to Evolve Global 22 and comes to me and they're kind of stuck and they want a help, they want help, and they want the program, they want the full, they're all in. What happens? This is what happens. Number one, I tell them, listen, don't stress. We're not here to stress. Breathe with me and just listen for a moment. First, I'm going to make you a welcome packet. And part of that welcome packet is an Ayurvedic body assessment so that we can know what your dosha or body type, body constitution, the dominant one in your body, what it is. You will take that assessment. Then that will give me information that I need to know. There's an intake paperwork that goes through all of the powers of 3 and additional information, like as if you go to any doctor. Everything is covered. Everything is protected by HIPAA. So then we talk about your physical health, any kinds of disease, chronic illness, things you're experiencing, pain, et cetera, et cetera. We talk about your physical health. There's an assessment. That's part of the overall assessment. We talk about your mental health. That's part of the overall assessment. We talk about your spiritual and your emotional health. All of that is in the intake paperwork. So that gives me a picture of the whole you. From that picture and from our conversation, then I design a plan to be able to bring you back, because you're definitely not the person is definitely not in alignment. They're definitely imbalanced. So we identify, we set up and get you a plan with the intention that it's going to get you back into balance. The plan is a living document that continues. So when something isn't working right or something happens in life or whatever, we change it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we start learning different rituals and strategies and practices and things that you can do every day, any time of day. Some are very, very simple, and some are take a little bit more time, but you start implementing one thing at a time. And I support you in that, because a lot of people will say, well, I don't know how to do it. And I break it down and make it very easy. We do it together often. I do a lot of healings and do a lot of work with your chakras, clearing your energy, balancing your energy, restoring your energy. That's something that we do. And I do that in different sessions that we have together. So really, we're talking about looking at every aspect of your life and you, addressing every aspect of your life and you, clearing out the debris, all of the debris that doesn't need to be there, restoring with clean, divine energy, and then practices and food intake and things that are going to help you to come back into alignment with you. And let me tell you, it only takes some people have a harder time than others, but really to start feeling better. Some people start feeling, especially when they do a healing session, to start with, which we do, they tend to start to feel a little bit better right away. Now, depending on where they are in their food intake and toxicity levels and all of that, then that will determine how much of a hard time they're going to have the first few days with like detoxing and in their body, cleaning things out. But overall, I mean, that's really where we start. And then after that, it's just building upon those principles, the unique, individualized healing, health, and wellness plan that you have, the practices that we implement right away, the healings and meditations and different things that we do together or that I do for you. Those three areas are where we start, and we focus very methodically. And it's not overwhelming. Nothing is made to be overwhelming. And we take it a step at a time, and we take it slowly. And then as you build, you get into more advanced practices, more advanced things where you work on a lot of your internal, your intuition, your internal, and how you can work to healing yourself. So that gives you an idea. But back to our book, just to close it up, because we are running on, what time is it? We're almost at an hour, and I don't want to keep you all longer, but I want us to just remember that tonight was about family patterns, epigenetic awareness, emotional lineage, identity. And the most important takeaway from all of this tonight in chapter 2 was you can become your own healer. It's not just I'm a victim of my genetics or whatever. Now, let's shift. I hope you enjoyed that portion and our exploration of chapter 2 in our book. Now, I'm going to switch this up a little bit, because every chapter I end with, I started ending with a closing affirmation and an intention to carry forward. But before we do that, since I missed our opening mantra and our breath work and all of that, I just jumped right in and forgot. I want you to take a moment, and I want you to do this breathing. This is one simple strategy. You can use this. It's good for stress release, emotional calm. It's good for focus. It's good for so many things. But remember, it's in through the nose and then push out through the mouth. Slowly, the breath comes out through the mouth, but make the hand motion with your hand, because you're just going to clear and push all the emails, stress, anxiety, conversations, mean words, negativities, anything that is kind of weighing you down, and just get rid of it before you go off to bed tonight. So let's do this. Remember, I do 3. So let's breathe slowly in through the nose and out through the mouth, and push everything away. Again, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Push all that debris away, out into the universe to be destroyed. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Blow it all away to be destroyed. Now, the hand over the heart. This is the connection to you, the connection to the creator of all that is. This is where that happens. And this is the easiest, most simple thing that you can do to make that connection, not only to yourself, but to your creator. So put your hand over your heart. You take a moment, just breathe your regular breath. Remember, breath is life force. Just breathe regularly. And in your mind, with your inner voice, you just say, I make the intention to connect with my heart. So let's do that now. I make the intention to connect with my heart.